Hi, this is Clarence Moye with Awards Daily here with Hacks guest star J. Smith Cameron. But of course, you know her from Succession most recently. But here we're here to talk about Hacks today.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. So I lied and said we're here to talk about hacks. I do have to ask one Succession question. So,
Sure.
you started this year attending the delayed Emmy ceremony where we finally were able to see Succession win drama series for its last season. What was that event and that evening like for you and the cast?
It was incredible. I was really sad though. I mean, I feel like all the lead characters on our show had really spent so much creative, like they'd really, Jesse and all the writers and directors and, Kieran, Jeremy, Sarah, etc. They'd really run the gamut in that, particularly in the last season, and they'd really spent everything. And I think they had a sense of catharsis with it. But for some of us, we we were more on the sidelines in the last season. I had some of my best scenes I ever had that season, but we were still like, wait, we're not ready to end the show. Like we're just getting warmed up,
Right.
but it's called Succession, and there's only so many ways they can delay uh, solving the succession, issue. But I remember getting weepy right when they were getting ready to take our picture on that couch backstage
Mhm.
and Jesse was sitting right next to me, I think on the arm of the sofa, and he was like, "Oh, Jay, what's wrong?" And I said, "I'm just sad." And he said, "Kiss the joy as it flies," which I think a William Blake poem, maybe from a William Blake poem. And he's always, he's titled those episodes after the Berriman poem. He's this really deep guy for someone who writes such funny, coarse jokes.
Yeah.
Kiss the
It's
joy
a
as it
it's a beautiful show. I loved that show. I missed it terribly, but it there we go. We had it and it was great while it lasted.
flies.
So, jumping forward to Hacks, you come on board this season to play Deborah Vance's sister, separated sister, emotionally and physically separated sister, Kathy. So, tell me, how did you get on board to the project?
Well, apparently, one of the Emmys before this last one you're referring to, we were all at after an HBO after party in these San Vicente bungalows. So you kind of wander from room to room, and I ran into them, and they were really enthusiastic. It was Lucia and Paul and maybe Jen, I don't know, but they were like, we think you should play her sister. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And I just didn't, it was like an Emmy party and everyone was drinking and celebrating. And I just quickly put it out of my mind because I didn't take it as a real offer. It was like I was like, I'll do them a favor and not ever mention this again unless they bring it up. And then later when I got the offer, they were like, we offered it to you at the Emmys last year. And I was like, oh, I
Oh, that
didn't
was
know
real.
that was real. I mean, showbiz being showbiz, I was not about to hold anyone to that.
So when I heard that you were on board, and of course I got the screeners, and it didn't say who you were playing initially, and then I said, "Oh, I know exactly who she's playing." And then I had this whole scenario in my head of Deborah Vance's sister Kathy being, almost going toe to toe with her with barbs, and it was completely different. Like that
Yeah,
is not who Kathy is at all. She's a very different person, right?
right. I mean, I had thought the same thing because I'm a huge fan of the show. I've always watched it. I never thought I would be on it. It didn't really particularly cross my mind. I did wonder who would eventually play her sister. If we, I assume you'd see her at some point. She's so anticipated and talked about every season
Mhm.
as part of Kathy's, um, Deborah's big, you know, uh, her profile, her comedic profile. She loves to refer to that and demonize her sister Kathy. And I thought, oh, well, I play a very tough character on Succession, and Deborah Vance, very tough. I thought the same thing. I was like, is that why they hired me? Is she going to be really steely and sassy and ambitious? And And then I thought how interesting it would be if she showed up and was just sort of a human being. And
Right.
you heard this myth of the character, and she was like a kid who was with her big sister's husband and daughter and filling in for her in every way. Kind of, I think it sort of, from Kathy's point of view, unfolded naturally. It wasn't like
Mhm.
some horrible betrayal in her mind. They were really not together at that moment. She was there to take care of DJ, who was little. And, I thought this makes a lot of sense if they make her as a human being, and it's disarming. It's like, oh, there's nothing to push back against. She's nice.
Right.
And I thought they won't do that because it's not as dramatic as seeing sparks fly, right? But then I was really glad that they did. And I kept like, again, I had to ask them, I was like, am I reading this right? It's like, and they were like, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just had a ball. I had a ball because it was just so different from Jerry. I got to do such a different whole chemical organism of Kathy is so different,
Yes.
from Jerry. And it's such a high profile, wonderful show. I'm just very grateful that I got to come in and do something truly different and emotional, on what is a half hour comedy. I mean, it often gets emotional on that show, or I don't know if it often does, but it does. But this was
Mhm.
like really fun to be sort of I know she has some funny things that she does, but I basically got to be dramatic and real and present with Jean Smart, who I adore and worshipped from afar all my whole career. So it was like a dream come true on many levels.
Talk to me about building that partnership with Gene Smart and to play these scenes.
Um, you know what? She and I are both such old KG veterans, and we no, seriously, that we kind of knew how to fast track it. We just
Uh-huh.
kind of fell in sync. We worked similarly. Um, there wasn't a lot of talking about it. It was just sort of very natural back and forth. Uh, and it was just a joy. Like I would say we work sort of similarly. And I think I've heard her say that. And I think I never thought it before, but watching it, I think we look like we could genetically be sisters.
Mhm.
We have enough features in common. And it was just sort of like it fit like a glove. I mean, working with Jean and the character.
Amazing. And I love that you bring up the fact that we have this. You had anticipated that interpretation of Kathy as well, because we have this real person, and there aren't that many real people in that show. It is a show of elevated personalities, and so bringing in that dichotomy really works very well. In fact, it's so funny, that moment where Deborah's walking up to the door. It's like you're tense, you're waiting for the showdown, and then all of a sudden the door opens and it's this super sweet you who's bringing a present, and you're like, can we hug? And oh, I feel like the dogs have been trained to attack me, and it's like,
It's often
oh,
throws up.
right. And so, oh no, we're letting this really sweet woman into this den of wolves.
And then I was
So
glad that but that she has a backbone too.
yes,
It was
absolutely.
great that we did have a snowball fight, and
Right.
we did I did speak my mind when we were at the mausoleum.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. Is there a subtext of guilt within that performance? Is there does Kathy feel guilt over their separation? Does she blame herself? I think that they're working through that in the snowball fight.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I think first of all, I think that's possibly a universal sibling thing,
Mhm.
or siblings who at least at one point were quite close and then have grown apart. There's all kind, I mean, no, you don't have to sleep with someone's husband to feel like you've let them down in this way, or you weren't there for them during this chapter of their life, or you were busy trying to figure yourself out right when they could have used, whatever. I think it's sort of universal. Siblings are natural rivals, even when they love each other. It's pitted that way. It's biblical. It's huge. It's very hard to ignore that. So I think, yeah, I think there's guilt and resentment and sorrow and curiosity that's just been festering for what seems like decades, maybe, or right. So I thought it was just a plum part, and I was so thrilled to do it. I'm thrilled the way it turned out. I loved working with Lucia. She directed those episodes. Or she did the Christmas spectacular. Maybe I think Jen did one of the other ones. Maybe.
So looking back at this experience, I mean, obviously you come from, most recently from Succession, which is a drama series that has sharp moments of comedy. And then here Hacks is a comedy series that has intense moments of drama in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you most comfortable as an actor?
Um, well, in my personal aesthetic, if that's the right word at all, I don't think drama and comedy are so far apart as the way they should be played. I think that drama is more effective if people are human, if people are really human and real, there's going to be comedy. It's the Chekhovian model. Like there's something about seeing someone's personality through their skin that's touching, embarrassing, funny, awkward, surprising. So I think that model of trying to be, real, authentic is the key to both. And I think that things can be funny and dramatic at the same time, almost at the same moment. So I think that was true of Succession, although my character was definitely a tough little bit. I mean, she was really did not let her guard down very often,
Right.
if ever. And this character there's no guard at all, it seems like, almost.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, I'm of that, and I feel like that's the writers I most admire do that too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really think of it, they don't go into a different mode when they're writing comedy. Exactly. They're
Right.
trying to get to the truth of something, and it usually includes some comedy. My husband's writing is like that too. I just love it.
I'm a huge fan. So last question for you. Where would you like to see, if you were to come back for season 4, maybe for DJ's, the birth of DJ's child, what would you like to see Kathy do next?
Well, in the sense of the season, there was a sense of closure, at least for that chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's so easy to break up with a sibling, like, as you say, DJ's baby, or there could be a number of factors that,
Right.
because that's how it is. It's hard to, I mean, people do get estranged from siblings all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are connections that sometimes force confrontations, or so I do think it'd be fun to see Kathy come back and be a little bit more wary this time, and a little bit more dukes up, maybe. I don't know. Those writers are so good. They're so clever, and they're way ahead of me. They've been thinking about this for years, and I was new on board. So whatever if they have anything up their sleeve or whatever it is, I'm sure it's good. But I think it would be truthful if after that scene, when she walks out of the mausoleum, when Kathy walks out of the mausoleum, she's like, the next time she encounters her, I think she's more ready for some bullshit, like is ready to protect her boundaries.
Yes. But you
Right.
wouldn't want to see her become a Deborah. You wouldn't want to see her, because of the moving of the parents and all of that. You wouldn't want to see her become corrupted that way.
I don't think she could be. She doesn't have, she is someone who obviously, I think one of the touching things about Kathy is they didn't have kids. Her sister is estranged. Her parents are gone. Her husband's gone. DJ is it for her because Deborah is so difficult. And so I think, she's not a career person. Kathy isn't. So I don't think she's competitive on that level at all with Deborah. So I don't think she's going to be the same. I don't see her as caustic or
Right.
troublemaking or anything like that, but I could see her standing up for herself, if that distinction makes sense. And I would love that if she came back, but I don't want to try to, once again, I'm not doing anything on Lucia, Paul, or Jen. They're the wizards. They know what to do.
Well, they're fantastic and they know a great thing when they have it. So hopefully we will see you in Hacks season 4 and a spin-off of Succession that focuses on
Yeah,
Greg.
yeah. Hello. Are you listening, Jesse? I'm pathetically telling every interviewer. Yes, there could be one about the stat. Like, what about the channel? It's look at the times we live in. Look at the disinformation era we're in. Look at the, you know, way the politics are going. Like, so maybe once he gets enough days at the beach, he'll start his brain. He'll start thinking. I miss
That's the brilliant way the show was ended because, yes, the question was answered, but there's so much more material that could be like just, Tom and Siobhan, what does that look like 5 years later? I mean, with a kid and, oh my gosh, there's
Yeah,
so much more that could be explored, but fingers crossed on that. Well,
right.
Jay, it was fantastic to speak with you. I've been wanting to talk to you since Succession, never had the chance, but it's great to do this for Hacks.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye
You
bye.
too.